Hola Bandidos, ¿cómo estamos? Welcome to Mel's Magic Official. I'm Magic Mel, and this is Owl, my spirit guide. He's finally closer, you can see him better. Welcome to episode 5 of season 8. I've been offline for a bit, like what, six days? To be honest, I've been exhausted in a way that I haven't felt for a long time. Full body physical exhaustion, and my mind, I couldn't even think clearly, so I just surrendered into it. Like, what can you do? Just rest. At some point I was a bit concerned. Now my energy is slowly picking up again. That's what I've been up to mainly, and it made me just take stock and come to a lot of conclusions. So I'm actually taking 2 more weeks at least of intentional rest. And by rest, I mean just stepping out of my usual routine, cutting out or minimizing social interactions, social obligations, not that I have many. Just being intentional with myself to reflect on my values, to reflect on not only the past 6 months, but perhaps even the past 6 years, to be honest, because since 2016, it's been one hell of a crazy ride. It's like the universe took me, I don't know about you, and put me through the ringer, like going forward into empowerment. I was resisting most of the time. So yeah, I was just catching up with what has expired. And instead of blindly stepping onto this hamster wheel that I usually was on, of doing, I'm being intentional now and asking myself, where do I want to put my energy next? What do I want to focus on next? What deserves my energy and what doesn't? What do I really want to do? What is most important to me? What lights me up? All of these questions. I feel it's super important to ask ourselves important questions to gain some clarity. As I stilled my mind and just succumbed or surrendered into rest, I felt like the muddy waters of my mind settling and clarity beginning to appear. Longer, clearer visibility. Clarity for where I am and clarity of where I want to go. At first, I was super resisting my body's need for rest, and I struggled with this internal voice that kept on guilt tripping me, saying, this is so inconvenient. How long are you going to rest? You know, you should be doing things. We've got lots of things to do. Like on and on and on. I had to question that voice. I'm like, who are you? Why are you pressuring me so much? And in the beginning, I did feel guilty. So I had to take stock in written words of what I had achieved to tell my mind to calm down and chill out, as if I had to justify the need for rest. It's pretty crazy. I then remembered 5 years ago, I went on an artist residency in Malaysia, and the owner, she was amazing. She left for a month to Australia, and she came back rejuvenated after a month. I asked her, what did you do? She said, I just took the entire month off and did absolutely nothing, or whatever I felt like doing. I was impressed by the transformation I saw. The person, how she looked like before she left, and the person who came back, like 2 different people. I was going to say it's a privilege to rest, but does it have to be a privilege? Can't we just build in rest into our normal way of functioning? That hamster wheel that I've been on is not sane. That is a psychotic hamster. The more he runs, the faster the wheel spins. It's never ending. And the irony is, he doesn't move. He's rolling on the spot. I thought about the past version of me who was always running after things, after the next achievement, ticking it off, then feeling kind of deflated once I had achieved it, and aiming for the next thing and sprinting ahead, achieving it. And the same thing, I was the hamster in that wheel, scrambling forward, but not really moving. Crazy. The irony is also that as I spend more time in stillness and release all of these voices, these fears, this narration, as I release all of that, I feel that I'm actually evolving without physically moving. I'm not sure if that tiredness also had to do with these solar flares. Barnaby, you mentioned it, but yeah, I've read it also on Instagram. Everyone is feeling exhausted. Apparently there's huge flares, but also it has to do with us. As we release more of this 3D heaviness, we allow more light in. We're literally embodying more light. Our body is trying to adjust to that as well on a cellular level. It's a real adjustment. Not sure if that applied to my exhaustion, but it could be a possible extra factor to this unexplainable fatigue. I want to rest intentionally 1 month a year. That is my goal. Because if we don't pause and reset, we tend to blindly go perhaps in the wrong direction, just sprinting ahead. But what's the use if we're going the wrong direction? Secondly, if we keep on reaching for the next moment, we can never appreciate where we are right now. And I thought that also, okay, there's all of these goals, there's all of this expansion, there's all of these things that I would like to manifest, but if I keep on feeling and thinking about what is still out there, out of reach or coming, then I'm not really appreciating what I have right now. At some point I was so exhausted. The last week, I didn't even want anything anymore. The thought of wanting something was exhausting. I just told myself, I don't want anything. I just want to be peaceful. And that is one of the core values I've distilled. Peacefulness, a sense of harmony, a sense of ease, a sense of flow, vitality. At the end of the day, we often do things in order to feel like that. I also had to ask myself, am I actually doing things to make me feel safe? Can I not just embody the safety right here, right now, without pinging that feeling on the outer condition? Isn't that what freedom is about? The unconditionalness, I don't even know what the noun is. Unconditional love, like embodying the state of love without expecting or hinging it on something external. Just being love, just being peace. Sounds pretty good. As I'm resting, I also realize that I need less. That when I'm on the hamster wheel, because I tend to then escape myself, escape my body's needs, I tend to compensate that escapism with filling the, I wouldn't go as far as saying self-abandonment, but the non-presence, the non-connection with myself with something external, whether it's food or going out or socializing. Whereas if I just cut it out and I'm just with myself, it's the direct route. And of course, I still need stuff, but I need much less. I'm not even that hungry anymore because my body is more relaxed. I don't need to drink as much caffeine, which is one thing I want to at some point cut out anyway, because it keeps on feeding this adrenaline and cortisol. And we get hooked on these chemicals. I'm definitely hooked on it. I used to be hooked on the drama chemicals also. Cortisol and adrenaline. Literally inducing situations that would bring out the drama just so I get another hit of drama. Crazy. We're going to be addicted to all kinds of stuff. And I want to celebrate, wrote a few things down. A few of my inner wins, because I also thought about it. What have I achieved? Of course, all of this external stuff, like practical stuff, a lot of practical, grounded stuff. I need to pat myself on the back. As an artist, I've been super grounded. But there's all of these internal transformations, processes that we go through and that we realize have occurred only when the situation brings up maybe an old trigger. And I've realized that I've responded to old triggers differently lately, in a way that have proved the way I've grown internally or healed internally. And by healing is, for me, it meant actually not outsourcing validation or love, but giving that to myself. Being there for myself. So I'll tell you a little story. Yeah, today has been a crazy day. I was a bit, what was the right word? Frazzled, probably from the heat. And as I backed up from parking, I really didn't see the car behind me. Like, it was actually a big car. I don't know how the hell I didn't see it. I didn't see it, and I rammed it. Well, I didn't ram it, but I kind of, when you back up and you bump into it. And the owner came out of a supermarket and she saw me. And she's like, well, wait a minute. I'm like, okay, calm down, calm down. I mean, I was even shocked. I'm like, shit, did I really just ram something? And we looked at it and I couldn't see anything. She spotted this tiny, like a fragment of my fingernail paint that had chipped off, but that could have been chipped off before. Anyway, she was in quite of a state, probably even before she arrived at the car. And then she received another phone call that her daughter had had an accident in kindergarten, and she rushed off to see her daughter, and I only gave her my number because she was like, no, we got to settle the insurance. I'm like, okay, vale, tranquila. She drove off. I went back into the car. And as is a bit common with me, it takes me a while to process things. Is this still recording? Yes, it is. So by the time she left, I slowly felt the feelings, and I was a bit shocked too, especially by her reaction. She was pretty aggressive, to say the least. And something interesting happened. This feeling of, first there was this voice that appeared. See, you should have taken better care. What the hell were you doing? You're so reckless. You're not being responsible. Basically shaming me, trying to shame me. It's the old critic that springs up in these situations. But as soon as I heard that voice coming on, I recognized, I'm like, oh, this is not the nurturing higher self. But let's listen to it. So I started listening to it. I'm like, wow, this is so self-deprecating. And it made me feel even worse. But I said, okay, I used my own coaching tools and I minimized that voice. You can mentally, if you hear your inner critic coming on, you can imagine that voice slowing down. Because as you like an old tape, as you slow down the speed, it starts to sound ridiculous. And it's one way of disassociating from the voice. So I slowed that voice down and I projected it. It was right here screaming at me. I projected it into the corner and made it small so I could distance myself from that voice. And as I distanced the voice, I then witnessed how I was feeling. And it was little Mel feeling yeah, feeling like a child who had done something wrong and was being irresponsible. I literally went like, okay, 3 deep breaths. It's okay. It's okay. What do you need right now? And I just sat in the car, breathing deeply, and I asked myself, Melanie, what do you need right now? And my mind was telling me, you should go back home right away and figure out the insurance and check with insurance. I'm like, maybe we'll do that later. First aid kit is taking care of ourselves. So I asked myself, what do you really want to do now? What do you really need now? What could do you good? Beach. Drove to the beach. And I was crying. I was crying in the car, just releasing that tension also. And I told myself, we're going to the beach, we're going to feel a bit better. As I was walking to the beach, I actually bumped into an old friend and we hugged each other. And I also thought, well, thank you, Asgard team, because you sent me somebody, just somebody familiar I could even hug in that moment. It felt so good. And then I went to the beach and I calmed myself down even further because I still felt the distress in my body. And I started tapping. It's called EFT. It's one proven technique that you can try out also that really calms our nervous system when we are activated, whether it's stress, whether it's panic, whether it's anxiety, whether it's anger, anything activated emotions. Fear also, when you're highly in a fear state, or just like me earlier, distressed. So you tap. You can follow me. It's much, without her hat. You take 3 fingers, the 3 middle fingers. You tap on the top of your head. So I'll tell you what I did. You can obviously use your own words, but I literally said, I release this shit and let it go. I release this shit and let it go. So you tap here, repeat it a few times. Then you tap same fingers all the time on your third eye, and you say, whatever makes you feel better. I let it go. I let it go. I release the anxiety and let it go. Here on the top, here's your eye and there's this bone here. I think it's a cheekbone, top of your cheekbone. Same thing. I release this and let it go. Then, under your eye socket, the eye socket bone, there's another point here. I release the shit and let it go. Keep on breathing if you can. Obviously you're going to continue breathing, but continue breathing deeply. Then you can tap upper part of your lip. Just keep on repeating whatever makes you feel calmer. I release the anger, I release the anxiety and let it go. I release the shit and let it go. I'm feeling more grounded. I'm feeling more grounded. And then you take up your left arm and you embrace this part here. It's another meridian point. It's very calming. And you take 3 intentional deep breaths. And as you inhale and exhale, you can invoke or imagine the word, whatever makes you feel grounded. You can invoke the word peace. Conjure it up in your mind. Exhale, imagine the word peace. And actually try and feel peaceful. Do that 3 times. Inhale through your nose deeply and exhale twice as long. Peace. One more time. Inhale deeply. And exhale twice as long. And then ask yourself, how am I feeling? On a scale of 10 to 0. 10 being like fucking panic attack and 0 being ready for nirvana. So the way I felt in the car, it was probably like an 8 or 9, highly emotional. And by the time I got to the beach and did this 3 times, the entire round, remember, right arm tapping 3 fingers, top of your head, crown, third eye, side of your, not collarbone, side of your cheekbone, underneath your cheekbone, upper lip, lower lip, and chest, like a freaking gorilla, honestly. And then hold your left wrist. Breathe deeply 3 times. Inhale and exhale 3 times. Do it this one round, as many rounds as you need, until you are at least in a neutral state. Neutral meaning not highly activated, because the thing is, when we're highly activated, we cannot think clearly. Our limbic brain is switched on, fight, flight, freeze, and the connection from our heart to our prefrontal cortex, which is the CEO, which is the logical, the more rational mind, is cut off because we are in survival mode. That's why it's so important to calm our parasympathetic nervous system and to reach at least neutrality so we can think clearly again, literally. If not neutrality, if you can bring it down to a sense of real peace, I mean, that's ideal. But I just showed you a technique of calming yourself, because how often are we triggered, guys, in real life? It happens. And, you know, whether you're a coach or not, it happens. The good thing is, when we have these tools, it's so important, like a first aid kit, how to self-regulate. This is something that will be taught, or probably is being taught in the new schools already, because we need to learn this. We need to learn how to regulate our energetic field. So that was my little story today. Why am I telling you this? Oh yeah, I realized, one of my wins is that I realized that I'm able to self-soothe myself much better. I can be there for myself, and I no longer give in to that self-critical voice, that self-deprecating voice that puts me down, that beats me up. I mean, one thing is making a mistake. It happens to all of us. We all make mistakes. Another thing is to beat ourselves up for the mistake. Most of our suffering comes from the extra layer of suffering, self-induced suffering, by lashing ourselves for having done something, for messing up. So that was my first win. Second win is kind of tied into the first one, less self-abandonment. You know, there's this, I don't really go out much, especially not now. I'm actually intending to do a juice fast next week because I realized I've also been dehydrated. Let's drink more water, guys, honestly. Oops, sorry. Dehydration causes all kinds of pains, aches and pains. I'm gonna keep this under 30 minutes. But, you know, I went out a few times to this local cute bar, and they have live music, and the waiter is cute. And I think the second time, he bought me a drink, and, you know, just like, it's just cute. And then I think the third time, or whatever, the last time I went there, he was there, but he was obviously super busy. It was like main fiesta here, San Juan, super busy. And I didn't really have time to, you know, I just paid my drink. I said, hey, Nico. And he kind of not ignored me, he was just busy, and went about this thing. And I realized that a past version of me would have immediately projected, oh, this person is ignoring me, poor me. And I would have felt that self-abandonment, 100%. I could feel it. But I was like, Melanie, this person is super busy. Look at the environment. Look at the situation. I would be the same in his shoes, like, you know, serving 10,000 people. And I realized, as this tinge of old self-pity came up, I said, Melanie, we're going home and we're gonna look ourselves in the mirror and talk self-lovingly. Remember I told you I'm doing mirror work? It's so important the way we talk to ourselves. These are all things that nobody notices, but this internal work, guys, is so important. Because as we change our inner being, we change the collective, because we are all connected. And that's how this shift also, this ascension shift is happening by each one of us doing this work that nobody probably is witnessing. But if you're doing a similar process, seriously, guys, I congratulate you, because it's huge. It's huge. Next thing I want to congratulate myself for is just resting. Just this whole unshaming rest is huge. Unshaming rest. Being more there for my body, not bulldozing my body's needs. Because as I rest, I'm also more able to listen to my body, obviously. It all sounds so obvious. But it seems like we've overcomplicated our lives, and we're striving for things that are not even wholesome and healthy. And the basic fundamentals we need to relearn, like resting, like talking to ourselves in a loving way, knowing how to regulate our nervous system. Then I also realized I'm more proactive with practical things. I have more confidence in just handling general life matters. I used to be so scared to really handle things, basically not trusting my own ability, which was purely self-induced. Self-induced mistrust. So nowadays I don't wait around for stuff. If there's a problem, I strive for the solution. I don't wallow in the problem and complain about it like I used to. I used to get some kind of satisfaction out of complaining to people. Next, I also realized that it's okay to feel neutral, because I was hesitating whether to make a video, but also I'm like, I don't always need to be this. Obviously, I strive to be in the joyful frequency, because joy, just like fear, is, ¿cómo se llama eso? Not addictive. For example, if I'm joyful, it will spread. You might feel my joy. Same as if I'm fearful, it's like a contagion. I will activate your fear. So it's important. The energy that we embody is important because we impact people. We impact the collective energy field, and we impact everyone we come in touch with. But I also told myself, you know what? I'm just going to show up the way I am. And now I'm more in a neutral state. I'm not rocking on my unicorns and, and cloud nines. I'm just neutral, and that is okay. Because I also thought, oh, damn, I'm supposed to be in this joyful state to attract my manifestations. But I was like, oh my God, Melanie, cut yourself some slack. And the trick about manifesting also is putting out our desires out and letting go and being neutral about it, not being highly obsessed about them and not being cynical about them either. Like, oh, it's never going to happen, to kind of protect ourselves in a weird way from disappointment. No, it's just putting out our desires and then letting go and going about our stuff. Just being neutral about it, like not being destroyed if it doesn't happen, not being on the other end, basically being in balance. So the time I took to rest has put me in a more neutral state, I guess a more grounded state, and I'm actually really enjoying it. So I'm celebrating these few wins with you. Let me know, what internal wins you have taken stock of. If you haven't, spend some time to reflect, because I'm sure you have. I'm sure you've noticed that a usual trigger has circulated back to you and you've responded differently because you've grown. Let me know in the comments box, okay? Also great, been reading again, and great book I want to recommend, Maya Angelou. I mean, this is the first of her memoirs, but I love her style. It's beautiful, the way she writes, and just, the cruelty and the beauty of human beings. So I recommend this one. I'm also reading, here, I'll hold it up, Maya Angelou, Singing and Swinging, Getting Married Like Christmas. It's the third one of her memoirs, of her autobiographies. Other one I'm reading is Charles Eisenstein, Money, Gift, and the Society in the Age of Transition. Sacred Economics, basically. And it makes so much sense. I like Eisenstein because he's not convoluted and trying to impress with his language. He's being really down to earth. Even somebody like me can understand his finance language when he talks about finance. And he is also the author of The More Beautiful World Our Hearts Knows Is Possible. And that is just huge. I mean, I can talk about this forever. It has everything to do with what I've been talking about. When we rest, we come back into our body and our heart. Our heart speaks via our body, not up here. Our disconnected conscience that's always in the mind, worrying and fretting and projecting fear. It's a feeling. So the new economy, it's happening. It's not even far-fetched anymore. It's based on our gifts, guys. On our true innate gifts that we all have. If you imagine, like, if everyone, the entire world would just go on a holiday, reconnect with themselves, it would be, honestly, most of our problems don't even have to be solved, because we would realize that we don't even have any problems. I also realized while I was resting that much of what I thought I had to fix is not even worth fixing, because it's not even a problem anymore. It's only when I keep on spinning in my mind that I create problems with my mind. It's insane. Literally, it's insane. We need to become sane again, guys. And that means connecting with our entire whole being and reclaiming all of these psychic fragments from all of these different timelines and dimensions and reclaiming our power. Being here right now. So, another book I want to recommend. I'll talk about it more in depth in another video because I don't want to. Oh, it's already 30 minutes. Time out. Cut. Maybe I'll record another video because I'm in a bit of a roll. Or maybe I should continue a bit. Let's give 10 more minutes. Up to you if you want to continue watching. ¿Qué más? Although there's not much to say. Oh yeah, I really want to recommend Kyle Cease. I'll put him one of his videos, or just look him up. Kyle Cease. Amazing public speaker, also highly inspirational. He's also in the light. And he has this beautiful exercise, which I did, is to write down, in an ideal world, if you had a magic wand, what would you be doing? Like if there's no money, there's, just what would you really want to do right now? So I wrote it all down. I wrote like 77 points. What would I like to feel, be, experience, or live? I won't tell you the entire exercise. Instead, I recommend you watching him, and I'm going to post a video of this exercise in the description box below. So in a way, I've been doing nothing, but I've been working on myself. And that is worth investing, Maybe my nature is to kind of, I don't know, find it difficult not to do anything. I'm learning it. But I guess this internal work it counts as work. It is actually the work. It is the work. Because everything else, at least for me, seems just like denying and scrambling and treating symptoms, but not the root causes. And I want to go straight to the root cause nowadays. Because I'm done dealing with my symptoms only and repeating the same patterns. I want to release patterns. I want to know who I am beyond the pattern. And trust me, like I shared in my past videos, this freaks me out also. Letting go of stuff can be disconcerting and scary because we're so attached to the story of who we are with the pattern, with the conditioning, with the story we've been telling ourselves. If we don't have a new story to substitute our old stories, our old attachments, then it can be challenging because the mind reverts back. It defaults back to our old stories. So I'm also consciously taking this time to really distill who I want to be, what I want to feel, mainly who I want to be. So it's not so much about the external stuff. It's who I want to embody to then easily attract the external stuff. Because if I do it inversely and try and fix the outer without fixing the inner, it will keep on crumbling. The house of cards will keep on crumbling. Because as within, honestly, so without. We project who we are from the inside out. And even if good stuff comes, if we're empty inside and devoid of self-love, the good stuff won't stick, or we won't probably even be able to attract it because we're not on the right frequency. So I'm going inside and sitting and nurturing my patience, strengthening the virtue of patience with myself, for myself, because that is an act of self-love, also being patient with ourselves. I'm also really redefining how I can love myself better. We can all love ourselves better. Be it the way we take care of our body, our mind, the stories we tell ourselves, our permission, giving ourselves the permission to rest. Yeah, ask yourself, what does self-love entail? How can you love yourself better? Because I'm also done with, I'm really letting go of these patterns of looking for that from the outside. Doesn't mean that I don't need, relationships or depend on certain things. But again, it comes back to what comes first. Can I validate myself first? Can I be there for myself first? Like earlier with the car incident. I went through in my mind, I'm like, oh, I could call so-and-so, or I could complain to so-and-so, or I could vent to so-and-so. But I'm like, that won't really help. What will really help is me being there for myself in the moment, self-regulate, self-soothe, tell myself loving and nurturing things instead of beating myself up for a mistake. Because the more I do that, the more trust I have in myself, and the more my inner child, little Mel, has more trust me more for me to be there for her, because she's still there. Your inner child is there too. And those feelings of abandonment and distress are mainly our inner child needing someone to hold them. Yeah, so small things, and big and small all can be inverted or reverted. The small things are huge nowadays. Our choices are huge. The way we treat ourselves is huge. So let me know how you've been holding up this past week while Magic Mel was silent. Yeah, maybe part of it was also I just didn't feel like talking. It was just more of this need to be more rather than to do. Human being. A human being. Who am I? How am I feeling? Instead of doing things to prove my worth. It's all about becoming sane again, guys. Really. Coming out of this mass psychosis and healing in back to sanity. Back home to sanity, back home to wholeness, back home to our heart, back home to connectedness. Because as we connect with ourselves, we connect with the higher stream. And then we become these rods of light more and more and more. And the planet is thankful because as she ascends, we ascend, the angel ascends, the entire universe ascends. It's a collaboration. So I'll leave you with this. There was a lot of Magic Mel's musings. No cards today. And see you for the next episode. Episode 6 of season 8. Okay, Bandidos? Share with me how your process has been going. If you've also been feeling more silent and more the need to go inward. The hermit. Sending you lots of love. Remember, I do tarot readings. I am a coach. All the details, all the information, my contact details are in the comments box below. And know that I appreciate you guys, every one of you. If you enjoy my videos, like, share, and subscribe. It helps my channel grow. Owl and I have got your back, and we are unfolding in this beautiful mass transition. And we're not resisting the flow, we are going with the flow. Why? Because it feels better. Resisting equals suffering. Okay guys, love you lots. Ciao.